Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.
And I listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast.
Curious about operating a startup in the Caribbean region? Join Beyond the Beach online for a virtual panel discussion on Monday, March 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You and other attendees will hear from the founders of Jamaica and CropMate about their experiences and learn more about the challenges and opportunities facing creatives and innovators in the region. Register today and see you soon.
Indeed, people. That's a little short message from our partnership with the Beyond the Beach team. As you know, Caribbean countries are more than their beaches and resorts. There are innovators and creatives in the Caribbean building great startups there as well. I want you to join Beyond the Beach online for a virtual panel discussion on Monday, March the 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with the Eastern Standard Time, I should say, with the founders of Jamaica and CropMate. Learn about their experiences as well as the challenges and the opportunities facing their companies. Register today and tune in. And you can find that registration link in the description below for this particular video. Some of you will be saying, Mash, what's that? What, Beyond the Beach? What's that all about? It's a partnership with Beyond the Beach, like I say, looking at kind of innovators and creatives within the Caribbean. And I think the fairest thing for us to say would be, we've always said, myself and Santoki, that we would only ever promote things that we believe in, that we believe in the vision of what a particular organization is trying to do. And almost like the kind of descriptor says at the start that I kind of just read out, it's about getting people to buy into the vision of the Caribbean as more than just beaches and resorts. And again, trying to kind of hear about what kind of creative startups are trying to do, what innovative startups are trying to do within the region. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, as the video said at the start, as the kind of what I said at the beginning, that kind of readout that I did, and look at the descriptor below, get involved, register for that particular online panel discussion on Monday, the 20th of March at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get involved, people, because it's something that we definitely believe in at the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. My name is Machel St. Patrick here, one half of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and we're here with another episode, another edition. It's a short one. This one's only going to be 15 minutes long, I promise you. Famous last words. Listen, today is the 14th of March, 2023, 6 days before you can join that online panel discussion about listening to CropMate, etc. I'll say crop. Did I just say CropMate? Sorry, people. Yes, listening to CropMate and listening to Jamaica, looking at innovative startups in the region. Join that 6 days from now, or join that today, but get involved 6 days from now. But for today, listening today, this is about looking ahead to the third round of the West Indies Championship that starts, well, depending on when you listen to this, that starts approximately at 2 p.m. UK time, 9 a.m. Jamaican time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as the third round of the West Indies Championship commences. As people know, we've already had 2 rounds already. These they took place prior to the West Indies tour of both Zimbabwe and South Africa. We've had 2 series of Test cricket, 4 Test matches, and eyes turn once again to the West Indies Domestic Championship. The third round of the competition. The Guyana Harpy Eagles currently lead the table. I should have put the table up on the screen. I didn't think to plan that beforehand, but the Guyana Harpy Eagles currently lead the table as going to the third round. Remember, we have a third round, the fourth round, and the fifth round to go. Then at the end of the fifth round, when the regular season champions are crowned, we will then split off into a Headley Week series where the best 22 players, or maybe 24 players, out of the first 5 rounds of the West Indies Championship will form a Team A and a Team B. And then the West Indies Academy will be the third team. And we will have a newly named Headley Weeks tri-series competition between Team A, the best of the best from the West Indies Championship, 2 teams, the West Indies Academy, and then they will play a tri-series. And then from there, a West Indies A team will be selected to either tour Bangladesh or possibly play a home series against South Africa. There's a lot of rumors going around about what exactly is what tour or what series is going to take place for the West Indies A team. That's still yet to be confirmed, but that's the kind of pathway for this current domestic championship in terms of where the story ends. And what I just wanted to do with this quick video was just look ahead to the 3rd round of the West Indies Championship. And as you can see on the screen, we have the next set of games to take place starting tomorrow, like I say, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 a.m. Jamaican time. You've got the Jamaica Scorpions versus the Windward Island Volcanoes, and that will take place at the Guyana National Stadium. You've got Trinidad and Tobago Red Force against the Guyana Harpy Eagles, the Chicken Curry Chicken Derby, to take place at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. And then you've got the Leeward Islands Hurricanes versus the Barbados Pride, and that will take place at the Queen's Park Oval. Now, it's worth pointing out, unless you're not aware, that all the remaining games of the West Indies Championship will take place in either Guyana, will take place in Guyana and Trinidad across the next set of games. You can watch this tournament on the West Indies YouTube channel. All of these games are live streamed. So there's no excuse. If you're a proper aficionado of West Indies cricket, there is no excuse to not get involved. All these games will be going on all day long from, like I say, 2 p.m. UK time all the way through to about 10 p.m. UK time, and obviously change that according to where you are in the world. So there's no excuse to not dip in and out, go across the different games. What I like to do is I like to put all 3 games up, and then I just mute whichever 2 I'm not watching and put the audio on for whichever one I'm watching, and I just dip in and out just so I can get a good kind of taste for what's really going on across the different 3 games. You know, there's lots of people in the chats for that. A lot of you who listen to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, I can usually find you in the kind of chat, in the live chat whilst these games are going on. So do get involved, people, because there's some good cricket being played in this West Indies Championship. In terms of the teams, if I just quickly address that. So the Scorpions, the kind of, for each team, I'm just going to call out like the big kind of talking points. For the Scorpions, Nkrumah Bonner returns for the Jamaica Scorpions squad. Nicholson Gordon returns for the Jamaica Scorpions. He had an injury in the first 2 rounds. Derval Green is there as well. Moving on to the Windward Islands Volcanoes, Alec Athanaze, surprisingly, we didn't expect to see him in this 3rd round. We thought that as a result of being called up to the West Indies men's senior team, that he wouldn't be able to get back in time from South Africa to take part in round 3, but he has, and he's returned and claimed his captaincy again. So Alec Athanaze is the kind of big name returning to the Windward Islands Volcanoes side. Guyana Harpy Eagles, fresh off the announcement that this will be Leon Johnson's last season, successful captain of the Guyana Harpy Eagles. This will be his last season for the Guyana franchise. Like I say, the Harpy Eagles are currently leading the table. He'll be hoping to go out in a blaze of glory. You've got Kemo Paul back from injury, so he's included in this Harpy Eagles squad. Anthony Adams is included. They had one more change as well. Who's the other person that got into? Oh, Kevlon Anderson, fresh off making some big runs in domestic cricket in Trinidad and Tobago. He is also called into the side as well. Barbados Pride, Jonathan Carter is back in the side. What are the changes? Oh, Russian Primus is in the side as well. Be interesting. If you haven't seen our episode with Russian Primus on the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, you can listen to that. Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Of course, it's also on YouTube as well. Go back and listen to that. Ramon Simmons, back from his adventures in the SA20. He's back in the squad as well. So certainly the Barbados, Dominic Drakes as well is in the Barbados Pride squad. So certainly they've had some upgrades to their squad as well. The Leeward Island Hurricanes, Akeem Saunders is back in from a long time name there, is back in the Leeward Island Hurricane squad. But that's really the only real major talking point there. Devon Thomas, has flown back in time from West Indies duty to be back and included in the Leeward Islands Hurricane squad. The Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, Vikash Mohan had got an injury in, I think it was the first round games. He'd caught an injury to like the webbing in his hands. He's recovered from that injury, so he's back in the squad again. Justin Manick has been called up as well, but pretty much with Trinidad and Tobago, they've got a lot of they've got Josh De Silva is not back yet. Shannon Gabriel's with the ODI squad. Yannick Correa is with the ODI squad, etc. So there's been a few weaknesses there for the Trinidad and Tobago Red Force. And I think that's it, actually. Yeah, those are all the different squads and for this third round of the competition. But what I've basically done is, prior to doing this video, I kind of wrote down 4 key talking points or 4 key things that I think all West Indies fans should be paying attention to going into this third round of the tournament. And actually, it's probably important to just put this on the screen for people. So just to remind people, when we broke at the end of the second round, the top run scorers in the West Indies Championship was, number 1 was Darren Bravo, 261 runs. Alec Athanase at number 2 with 244 runs. Kimani Melius, 204 runs. He's actually injured for this third round of the competition. Matthew Nandu, 204 runs. And Sunil Ambris, 183 runs. And then looking at the bowlers, the top wicket takers, Akeem Jordan, top with 12 wickets. He has flown back from South Africa, but he's not, or as we believe he has, but he's not included in the Barbados Pride squad for the third round. He's got 12 wickets. For Sammy Permol, 11 wickets. Ryan John for the Volcanoes, 10 wickets. Rakeem Cornwall, 10 wickets. And Brian Charles, 10 wickets. So those are kind of like the top run scorers and the top wicket takers at this stage of the competition as we go into the third round. And what I kind of wanted to do was just I picked 4 key talking points going into this third round that I think everybody should pay close attention to. And a lot of this also links to what we've just seen from the West Indies tour of both Zimbabwe and South Africa. The first talking point is it's important for us to see some big runs scored. And when I say big runs scored, if I bring up the top batters again, I think the thing that most people will agree on coming out of the test series against South Africa is that there are huge question marks about our top order, and more specifically, our numbers 3 to 6 in the test lineup. Brathwaite and Chanderpaul's position is pretty much locked in at this stage. You would expect, unless injury strikes one of them down, or both, you would expect that both of them will play against India in the summer when India come to tour for their test series. However, it is open to debate at this stage if Raymond Reefer at 3, Jermaine Blackwood at 4, Roston Chase at 5 and Carl Mayers at 6. It is open to debate at this stage as to how many of those 4 are locked in. How many of those 4 can sit right now and say, yeah, my position for the India series in July is pretty much guaranteed. I don't know how many of them can say hand on heart, yeah, I expect Desmond Haynes to pick me. With that in mind, I think there is at the bare minimum, there is at least 1 place available in this current West Indies test squad for a new batter to come in. Now, obviously, some would look at the situation and say, well, if there is, then that must be for Alec Athanase. After all, Alec Athanase was called up to tour South Africa. He didn't get a game, didn't play in the warm-up game, didn't arrive in time, and is the second top run scorer in the current West Indies Championship. Some would, of course, say Devon Thomas is next in line. He also was part of the West Indies test squad. He was part of the test squad to Australia, part of the test squad to Zimbabwe, part of the test squad to South Africa. He's only got 1 goal, and that was against Australia. So some would say, well, Devon Thomas is the next in line. But arguably, you could say that whoever tops the run charts after 5 rounds of the West Indies Championship should actually be the next in line to get a call up to the West Indies test side. As things currently stand, leading the way is Darren Bravo. So you could even argue that, although I say one of the key talking points is whoever scores big runs, the subplot to that is, can Darren Bravo continue to score big runs? In the second round of the competition, he scored 2 back-to-back centuries. There will be a lot of eyes looking at Darren Bravo going forward into this next round of the West Indies Championship. Remember, Trinidad and Tobago Red Force are playing the Guyana Harpy Eagles at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. There will be a lot of eyes on Darren Bravo to see if he can continue his rich vein of form. And should he continue, and more importantly, should he end up as top run scorer in the West Indies Championship this year, I think there would be an expectation from pretty much everyone in the Caribbean that Darren Bravo gets a recall back to the West Indies Test squad. So that's talking point number one. We're looking to see who's going to score big runs in the third round of the championship. The second talking point that I've written down is we're looking to see who's going to show up with the ball in terms of spin. Although what I've actually written down is a spinning all-rounder. And the only reason I've written that down, and you can probably catch my drift, the only reason I've written that down is because I'm looking at one player in particular, and that, of course, is Rakeem Cornwall. Some people would say that Roston Chase's hold on a position in the West Indies Test side is very, very thin or very, very tenuous at best. Should that be the case, and should Roston Chase hold a drop from the West Indies Test side in the near future, then it is Rakeem Cornwall that most people would expect to take his spot. Rakeem, as you can see on the screen at current, is currently the 4th highest wicket taker in the competition with 10 wickets. He's not in the top 5 run scorers, but he's in the top 6 run scorers in the competition as well. So you've got Rakeem at number 6 with the bat and at number 4 with the ball. Should people believe that Roston Chase should hold a drop, then the only player who fits the same skill set as Roston Chase is Rakeem Cornwall. So the second talking point for a lot of people will be, how will Rakeem go in this third round of the West Indies Championship? And should Rakeem continue to put runs up with the bat and we know he'll take wickets with the ball, does that put huge pressure on Roston Chase to be dropped? Obviously, some people will always say, and I'm sure I'll get some comments in the comments below saying, but Rakeem Cornwall's too big, he's not fit, etc. Numbers are numbers, right? If Rakeem Cornwall continues to put up the numbers, there will be a clamour from some people for him to replace Roston Chase. Third talking point is what the composition of the A team looks like at current and also going forward. As I said at the top of the show, at the end of the 5-round West Indies Championship and then the Headley Weeks Tri-Series, an A team will be selected either to tour Bangladesh or to play South Africa at home, yet to be confirmed or to be confirmed. The next talking point we also need to think of from a wider perspective is, forget who might make the West Indies Test squad. More important is who's making the West Indies A team. Because whichever players make that West Indies A team to play in the summer should be, if selection followed a rational process, whichever players make that West Indies Test team should be the next set of players we're looking at in terms of being able to break into the West Indies men's senior side. So the next subplot is, who are the 11 players we're currently looking at to make the West Indies A team? And also, going a bit further, should that West Indies A team, when we come to pick it, be made up of young, promising players? Should it also include some experienced pros? What will the makeup of that side be? So, for example, on the screen at the moment, you can see that the second highest wicket taker in the competition is Vasami Permol with 11 wickets. Is there any purpose to taking Vasami Permol? I'm just saying, argument's sake. Is there any purpose to taking Vasami Permol on an 18 tour at the age of 31, I believe he is? Or should Brian Charles from Trinidad and Tobago continue to take wickets? Would you take a Brian Charles instead? Obviously, some of you will say you can take both, but I'm just saying there's more, there should be more to the A team selection than just who's finished at the top of both the run scorers and the wicket takers. There's also got to be a nod to the future. And dare I say it, there should also be a nod to players who don't get the opportunity to play as much red ball cricket because they're often representing the West Indies. So will there be a place for a Brandon King? Will there be a place for a Romario Shepherd? I'm just calling some random names, although I think he's in the IPL. So there's also that kind of sense of what are we going to use that A-team tour for? Which are what type of players and which players are we going to be I don't even want to say taking the gamble on. Which players are we going to be investing in for that A-team tour? Is there a long-term upside to the players we plan to select for that A-team tour? So that's also another subplot of this next round of the West Indies Championship. And then the final talking point I've kind of got for the for this third round of the West Indies Championship is Nkrumah Bonner. Again, some of you will say, "Oh, Mash, you're only saying this because you're Jamaican bias." Okay, whatever, cool. The reality of the situation is there are still many people within the region. Yes, there's some who don't care, but there's some cricket fans within the region who would still say that Nkrumah Bonner was hard done by. Got concussion in Australia, didn't play in Zimbabwe, and then got sent home and dropped for the South Africa tour. Desmond Haynes said at the press conference after the selection for the South Africa tour that there's still a place for Nkrumah Bonner going forward, but they want him to go and play some domestic cricket. If you want to believe that, take it at face value. But the key talking point, therefore, for me in this third round is, will Nkrumah Bonner score runs? We've just seen the West Indies men's senior team. What word do I want to use here? We've just seen them surrender almost. Their highest score across 4 innings in South Africa was 251. When you return from a tour where you've only passed 200, how many times did they pass 200? Was it twice? I think they got like 220 and 251, and then like 160 and then 110 or something, right? When your batting unit fails to put up significant scores on a tour of South Africa, all eyes have to be on Nkrumah Bonner because Nkrumah Bonner was dropped. And remember, as we said, Nkrumah Bonner in 2021, Nkrumah Bonner averaged 42. In 2022, Nkrumah Bonner averaged 32. His test match average at this moment in time is 38. Some people feel that Nkrumah Bonner should not have been dropped. They feel that he hadn't done anything to justify being dropped yet. The only way Nkrumah Bonner forces his way back into West Indies selection is through sheer weight of runs. So all eyes should also be on the Scorpions game. They play the Windward Islands Volcanoes in Guyana starting Wednesday. How will Nkrumah Bonner get on? And should Nkrumah Bonner put up huge runs, does that mean that he has to come back into the West Indies test squad at the expense of people who were picked instead of him? I don't know, but that's another talking point that people need to think about as we head into the third round. So as I say, people, quick little video there, just 4 major, I didn't even do 5, 4 major talking points going into this third round of the West Indies Championship. As ever, get at me in the comments below. Let me know what you think. You may only be listening to this 1 hour before day 1 starts or whatever it might be. But either way, whenever you do listen to this, like, share, subscribe to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Head to www.caribbeancricketpodcast.com. That's where you can find the links to everything that we do. And as I said at the top of the show, should you want to be part of that online panel discussion looking at the creativity and innovation with startups in the Caribbean, if that's something that interests you, listening to the kind of owners of Jam Maker and Cropmate, by all means, look at that link in the description below. Join the live discussion on Monday, the 20th of March at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there. Big up Beyond the Beach. I've been Machel St. Patrick here at one half the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. Thank you and good night.
We rule the cricket world. Now the rule seems coming.
Welcome to the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things West Indies cricket. By the fans, for the fans.